What's up, guys? Welcome to Podcast 412, Fight for Purity. A bold way of looking at challenges that young people are facing. We'll talk about the naked truth of life and how to handle the problems you're thinking but not talking about. So strap in, get ready for another great podcast.
Hey everybody, we're back with season 2 of Podcast 412. This season we're going to be talking about how we can be an example in our speech, and Elisa is going to start us off with some definitions of what speech is.
Alrighty, so there's two. The fancier version is what speech is the expression of or the ability to express thoughts and feelings by articulate sounds, or in simpler terms, the communication or expression of thoughts and spoken words.
Cool. Okay. So I looked at the original, like the Greek language of what speech was. And so just bear with me because there's a few definitions. But basically, it's a collecting or a collection. It embodies a conception or an idea. And now also the Greek definition is logos. So some of you might be familiar with the whole logos thing. But it's also, the definition is also speaking to a conclusion, a reasoning expressed by words. It's also, I forgot what this one said, intelligible speech. Intelligible speech. And also with it's also settled together in the mind. So that was the definitions that I got. So I know one of the things I was thinking about when I was looking at speech was the thing that kind of stood out to me was two things actually, was the collection or the collecting. So speech is really about a collection of ideas or a collection of thoughts or just a collection of, just like in everyday life, whether it's things that you're listening to or you're getting ideas from maybe from social media or from the news or from an article that you read, or maybe your parents, whatever, just it's just a collection of all these different things. And then one of the other things that kind of stood out to me was that you're speaking to a conclusion. And basically, to me, that's just the idea that you're talking with like intent, you're talking with purpose, you're speaking to come to like a conclusion of something. You're not just talking, blubbering, whatever.
Yeah, because when I was looking up definition of speech, they were saying that there was 4 types of speech. So the 4 is you're either to inform, to instruct, to entertain, or to persuade. So whenever you're talking, you're doing one of the 4, and sometimes you could be doing both at the same time. A few of them at the same time. I'm not too sure if you could do all 4 at the same time, but I know you could.
Top-notch speaking there.
Yeah, but I know you could do at least probably 2 at the same time, just in the way that you're doing. Because you can inform someone, but in an entertaining way.
Yeah.
Or persuade someone, but in an informative way, so that it sounds, they sound smart. So that's why you're persuaded, because they're very informative in how they're trying to persuade you and whatever it is that they're trying to talk to you about.
Yeah. Were you gonna say something?
Oh no, I was just thinking, I think like for the most part we all talk in like the entertainment way. Yeah. We're just telling stories, this happened, that happened, this crazy stuff happened, and sometimes it's not funny stories, but you're making it sound funny.
And then hopefully we're talking to kind of inform, because, we're not just, like just saying whatever we think speech is, but we're actually looking, into like definitions, and then kind of going about it that way. So we're like informing you, and even you considering how people speak to you, are they, I know, because I know there's that part where people are trying to persuade you when they're speaking to you, and what are they trying to persuade you of? I feel like that's, like a commercial, they are informing you about, this is the best detergent, whatever, they're trying to inform you of something, but they're really trying to persuade you, to buy their product. When you watch stuff on social media, they're all trying to persuade you that you need something that you probably don't need, But I feel like a big part of that is, or entertain you even. I guess some of it's
a new subscription,
Yeah.
a new place to shop.
Life changing.
yeah. Like I don't know on TikTok. I mean, what's that? Entertain you? I guess.
Yeah, pretty much. Occasionally, people use it to like inform, but I think even that you got to be careful about what's like labeled or looks like it's informative. Something somebody's trying to speak to you about, because I think especially like today, I feel like not everybody, but a lot of people just kind of take what's spoken, and then they're like, yes, I agree, instead of
like digging into it.
like instead of like digging into it, and I'm like, how much can you really know about a person based off of like that like 60-second clip? How do you know that's really what they're all about? And I think like that's kind of why we want to talk a little bit about like why speech is so important, because you've got to go into all the little things about speech and about how it's not just having a conversation, but it's about understanding like kind of like where it's coming from or what it's really about. It's technically an ad, about, what is it, that stupid Liberty Mutual ad that I see everywhere with the ostrich, like it's entertaining, because there's an ostrich and I always see the color yellow and, it's funny, but it's also trying to get you to like get their insurance. I think it's insurance, honestly.
Yeah, it's car insurance.
But they make it look so fun and entertaining. Like I want that, so it's like understanding like, oh, hey, there's more going on than just a funny video about an ostrich and a dude.
Yeah, well, even when you look at like, if anyone watches Super Bowl, they have like alcoholic beverages, it's like, oh, it's so cool, you'll get all the girls, you'll have a fun time on a beach if you drink this alcohol. Because I had, when I was younger, I made a decision to go to a party and the cops showed up, and I was 20. I was about to be 21. My court date was actually right after or right before my birthday. And so so when they got there, I had to go to court and talk to them. And so what they made me do is they made me go to some classes. And so what they did there is they showed me how commercials deceive you. And like, oh, this looks so fun, this looks so great, and then sorry. And so they made it perceive like it was just, you're gonna have this great time if you drink this and you do this, but then they don't show you the repercussions. So then they showed us, they had like those goggles that show you, they don't show you the after effects or like how it affects you and stuff. So some stuff's deceiving, because they make the speech, they make the advertisement look so great, but in reality they don't show you the after effects or like the behind the scenes. I think we've used it before, that apple that's in a mirror and the it's like all rotting on the one side and the other side's pretty.
But it's all pretty on the other side. Yeah.
So like people can do that with their speech too,
Yeah, definitely. I think you said earlier, one of the things that we always hear, like you were saying, was don't judge a book by its cover. Because I think in our time, and especially for young people, you hear something and you automatically agree with it or embrace some kind of philosophy or embrace some kind of, whatever it is that's going on in the world, whatever's trending or, and you just quickly like embrace it without even like giving thought to like, well, maybe I should really look into this. I should really look into whether everything that they're saying about this is really true, And sometimes we don't do that, you hear somebody tell you something and
we like accept it as
you
fact.
just accept it. Okay, that, oh, it's true, like the earth is flat. Oh, okay, that sounds like, and they give you maybe a few little, nuggets and you think, wow, that sounds really convincing. And then you just accept it, and I think that's kind of like the whole collection of stuff is that.
And even like when people say, well, it feels right. And it's like, well, what feels right about it? Like, yeah, it can feel right, but like sometimes the truth doesn't feel good. Like, like you have to like really like investigate. You have to take everything what people say with like a grain of salt, pretty much. Like, but like do investigation and see if what they're saying is true. Because just because it feels right with how they're speaking or how they're presenting facts, quotation marks. but yeah, so like just because it feels right, because like the truth won't feel good sometimes
all the time.
you
Yeah,
know?
because sometimes the truth is that, hey, your clothes don't fit anymore. Our favorite shirt, we put it on, we're struggling to get it, and you're like,
I felt about one of my dresses. It shrunk in the dryer.
the truth does not feel good that you don't fit your clothes anymore. but it's the truth, And you were gonna say something. I interrupted you. I'm sorry.
There was two. I didn't want to do like all the definitions at once, but I also looked at where the word logos like originally came from, and originally it meant to lay down to sleep. And I'm thinking, what does that have to do with words or with speech? But then later it was known for laying an argument to rest. So that's really where it comes from. It's about bringing something to a closure. Moving towards closure. And I feel like, sometimes when we speak, we don't really do that. We hear something or we say something, but the reason there's not closure sometimes is because you don't have all the facts, and so, somebody can give you an argument for something, or they can give you, a reason for something, but you're the one that really has to bring it to closure. You're the one that really has to come to a point where you're like, okay, I'm going to accept that as truth. But because I did my research, or because I looked into it and I looked at the facts, I didn't just hear what somebody had to say about it, And then one other last definition that it said was that it's really the source of the intellectual, moral, and spiritual life of man. That really what speech is. It's about what's inside of you, not just your thoughts, but actually, intelligent thought, and it's, the moral part, if you have any morals, and that spiritual part, that's what's going to come out, it's
what you believe is right
what
or
you
wrong.
believe, yeah, and make sure that what's coming out is really what you believe, because you went and you looked into, you did some study. You didn't just take it, because you hear, like I said, so many voices about this, about that, about, everything, we could go, like, we could make a whole podcast on everything that you hear.
That's going on. Yeah. Well, I think even too, like, just because somebody's like the loudest too, or you see it the most often, that doesn't necessarily mean that's the whole truth, or it's the whole truth. And I think there was wasn't there like another something about your forensic definition of speech or something like that?
Oh yeah, like because this is coming from like how she said, forensic, so it's like a study of like the voice specifically, and how important it is, and how it can help even when incriminating criminals, seeing if they're innocent or guilty. And so one of the definitions that when they were talking about is that voices are important things for humans. They are the medium through which we do a lot of communicating with the outside world, our ideas, our emotions, and our personality. The voice is the very emblem. Oh, how do you say that? Emblem. Yeah, emblem of the speaker, indelibly woven into the fabric of speech. So it's just your voice represents who you are, basically. And whether it's your emotions, your personality, your thoughts, everything, your voice is very important because it's almost symbolic to you. And that's not just exactly what you're saying, but also like in the tone of voice. If you're stressed when you're saying it, if you're mad when you're saying it, if you're happy when you're saying it, the voice is just very important and very symbolic to you.
Well, even with like dogs or like animals, like they don't know what you're saying, but like they go off of how you voice it.
Yeah.
Like if you can be telling them like the most horriblest things, but if you're happy about it, they're like, oh, they're like, they love me, but like you can be telling them that you love them, but like in like an angry voice, and they're just like cowering, like they're like, oh no. But yeah, I thought of that whenever you were mentioning the voicing and
I think filtering out too, like, because we're not always right in our beliefs too. So if we filter out, like, and study, you know how you're saying, looking into stuff of our own beliefs. I think there's been some people, like, when they went back to, like, what they believed and, you know, why they believed some of the stuff, you know, even in the realm, just, like, everyday stuff too, they found out, like, they were, like, completely wrong, or their beliefs had no base, you know, like, it.
Or is very narrow.
Yeah, you know, and I've had to change some thoughts that I've had, because some stuff, you know, just growing up too, from my parents and stuff, and what I believed, or, you know, even right and wrong, like, I've had to readjust stuff in my own mind and filter out stuff too. So
Totally
Yeah.
agree.
yeah. My mind takes me everywhere sometimes.
But even thinking too, like, I think we talked a little bit about character, like what you said about, it's like when you're speaking, it's who you are, you know. And I know I go back to it again, is you know, it kind of goes back to that whole, like, what are you becoming, you know? Is what you're speaking, is that really you speaking, or is that what you hear everybody else saying? But it's not really you, because you really haven't really dug deep, you know, into things that people are saying, you know. And so you really need to consider, you know, like who's talking, you know, what's their character, you know, what are they known for, you know, are they known for telling the truth, you know, or are they people that are constantly twisting the truth and making it sound good and making it sound like, okay, yes, you know, this, yes, this, you know, but yet, you know, repeatedly you've seen that they lied, you know, but yet some people, like, it's like they don't catch that sometimes, you know, and somebody says something and you've heard them lie, like, you know, on social media, or you know, and it's like, you know, really, you know, you really think that that's where they're going, or that's a decision they're gonna make, or that's, you know. And so I think even that, you know, and even for ourselves, like I said, you know, it's who you are when you speak, you know, who you know. And the sad thing is that sometimes when you speak, man, be quiet. No.
Just stop.
You know, just stop right now.
Pull your head.
You know, because you're digging a hole, because you're not making any sense, or you're saying things that just, you know, do you realize what you're saying? You know, it's just, you know, you're trying to, it's almost like you're trying to convince yourself, but like everybody else around you, it's like, you know, have you looked in the mirror? You know what I mean?
Yeah, like, you know the truth, and they just keep going.
Yeah. It's like, you know, the truth is staring you in the face, but, you know, I'm going to refuse that, because, you know, so I think it's really important, you know. And then I think even the whole intelligent speech, I think you have a set of books on, I forgot what they're called.
It's the Three Little Pigs. So hopefully whoever's
I wasn't
watching-
thinking of those, but go ahead.
Well,
But go ahead.
I was like, I don't know what you're thinking. I was thinking about the Three Little Pigs. But there's the story of the Three Little Pigs, and hopefully you guys know what the Three Little Pigs is about. But there's another book out there, and it's called The True Story of the Three Little Pigs, and it's from the wolf's perspective. And, you know, the whole story, he's pretty much just saying how he's not the bad guy. He just went to the house, you know, to ask for something. He's knocking on the door. They got scared. They ran away, and the house just fell down, you know, like, oh my gosh, you know. But, you know, when you think about it, like, everybody knows the wolf's the bad guy in that story, but because it sounds good from his perspective, then, you know, everybody wants, like, it's kind of how it is now. You've got to pay attention. You've got to see all parts of the story, not just one part. That's, like you said, that collecting of thoughts. You got to make sure that you're collecting all parts, not just one part or one side.
Yeah. And I was actually thinking of that book you have on how people used to talk back in the olden days. Like when you wanted to insult somebody, you actually had to have a good wide vocabulary. You couldn't, you know, nowadays, I mean, you use 4-letter words, which isn't very intelligent. You tell somebody something and, you know, you use all this profanity, but, you know, you're really not speaking intelligently.
They're just space fillers.
Yeah, you know, and it's like, you know, or when you hear music, sometimes nowadays, there's really nothing
There's nothing being
intelligent
said, yeah.
about, or you say the same things and you repeat the same message over and over again, and it's like, you know, you're really not saying anything, But anyways,
it's literally a book of Shakespearean insults.
Yeah.
It's just a whole book of it's Shakespeare's, like, he's like a playwright. He's the guy who writes all these plays, and he wrote like so fancy, like these and thous and everything. But like his insults weren't just like, you're ugly. Like his way of saying you're ugly was, out of my sight, thou dost infect my eyes. It wasn't just, you're ugly. Like there was like, and he calls what, you egg. Like he calls him an egg. There's thought behind that. It's not just you're ugly. Like you said, your 4-letter curse words. There was like thought, and you have to plan it out. And
or even when you see these old movies, like I remember they're like old movies, like back in I don't even know my history, but where when you wanted to insult a guy, or you said something, but you said it so like intelligently, and with poise, you weren't like, you weren't swinging your arms around, and you took your composure, and then you said what you had to say, and then you walked away, or he walked away, but it was like, but nowadays, people just,
They cause a scene.
yeah, and you don't even think about, you can address something and actually be intelligent about it, so, yeah. There was one thing I think that I wanted you to close with. Did you say it?
I said it already.
Oh, you did already?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Okay, never mind. But yeah, but I think that's like, so, as I was like looking through us, it's like speech is like such a big thing, like she said, we use it every day. We communicate with people every day. That's how we navigate around people, and so I don't think as people we even think sometimes about the words that we're saying, how important they are, like that you can encourage people, or that you can really hurt people, or even like I said, what messages are you sending out? What messages are you sending out to your kids? What messages are you sending out to your spouse?
to yourself,
Yeah, and even to yourself, and I think that's really important. But one of the things that when you opened it up, you said that we can be an example, or you guys, because he's talking to the young people or youth, and I don't think you think about that, that I can be an example as a young person, and you can be, and I mean, there was I can't remember. Oh, I think we were at church the other day, and there was this really young girl, sitting in front of us, and she had to be, I think, maybe 7 or 8 years old, and man, just the way she carried herself, and just she carried herself like a little adult. And when you asked her a question, she's like, yes, no, and so intelligently, so young, she wasn't, it just blew me away. It's like, wow, haven't seen a child like behave that way like in a long time, because mostly they're all rambunctious and they're running, and but she behaved herself, and you could tell she'd been taught how to behave and how to speak, because she spoke very, very, just nothing, like I said, not like, these big old words, but she just, you could just
she
tell.
like knew what she was saying.
Yeah, she knew what she was saying, and when they asked her a question, she knew how to respond, and she responded respectfully, and and she just had this like this great composure about her, and so I think that's something that young people should aim at, because you can really just think about your speech. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Your words are important. And on that note, we're going to end words. So that's it for our first episode. As we continue, we'll talk about speech and all the different areas about it, and how we can all be examples, good or bad, in our speech. And we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for listening. Join us for our next podcast. You can contact us through Instagram at podcast412 or email us at 412fight@gmail.com. See you next time.